I've been a TV news commentator and political writer for about 8 years. Going on TV shows, podcasts, radio, and hosting my own show on YouTube has been my life. It was always my dream to do political talk, and I've learned so much about presenting, writing, rhythm, and making your point concisely. And so I teach. For several years now, I've also trained organizations and individuals to pass on the tricks of the trade, and it's my favorite part of the entire thing. You have to pass on what you have learned. I also happen to be a student of Stoic philosophy. The news and the political world is enough to drive a person crazy. It's constant chaos, doom and gloom, things that are outside of your control, and worst of all, you're being asked to offer your opinions about things that you don't have a stake in personally. Being a political pundit is a highly unstoic activity. But just like with Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, or Cicero, the Stoic-ish senator in the late Roman Republic, philosophy is something that you apply to real life. It's not supposed to be lived in the library. It's lived in the arena, in the courtroom, on Twitter, and on television. I've been doing this kind of work for many years, but I only recently came around to Stoic philosophy. I learned all the stuff I'm about to tell you in the real world, and then I found it in a book. And so, here are 4 Stoic lessons I learned doing TV that I hope you can apply to your life. Not everybody can do this. Don't take everything personally. The job of people on these shows, cable news and YouTube shows alike, is to argue, to yell at each other, to debate.
Just shut up for a minute and let me easy.
Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations, we need to excuse what our sparring partners do and just keep our distance without suspicion or hatred. Easier said than done. When someone comes for your throat on television, it's very easy to take it personally. Cable news and political talk is a sparring ring. If you step in, you could get clocked. And the reason is that everyone on there is angling for something. They're angling for paid speaking tours, book deals, viral moments so that they can fuel new career opportunities.
Why are we doing this?
And someone who is perfectly kind and gentle and polite in the green room backstage before the show starts may go for your throat when the cameras start rolling. Consider this. It might be their actual job to represent a certain congressman, the GOP or the Democratic Party line. So you need to excuse them. When the staged fight is over, you can still be decent. You can be a kind human being. I've seen it a million times. It doesn't mean that you have to be less nice as a person. It means you need to be better at combat and then know when combat is over. You've got to get control of your face. Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations, chapter 7, disgraceful that the mind should control the face, should be able to shape and mold it as it pleases, but not shape and mold itself. The worst thing that happens on television is people who don't know when to smile, they don't know when to frown, they can't even tell when they're rolling their eyes at people because they are a person who loves to roll their eyes. And so these people will appear in one of the boxes on cable news and somebody is saying something stupid and they are rolling their eyes or grimacing or making some sort of contorted face and they don't even realize it. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be able to have a nice neutral expression when you're doing television. Your listening face. What goes on up here does affect what happens here. If you don't have control when someone is speaking to you and saying something completely ridiculous, you should be able to look at them completely straight-faced and with some semblance of respect without your eyes rolling to the back of your head, which communicates what might be going on up here. In your mind, you're rolling your eyes at them, expressing contempt for their idea or thinking what they're saying is stupid. But out here, respect. You listen, and then you respond. You do need to slow down. Seneca has a lot to say about this in Letters from a Stoic. He says, what view is one likely to take of the state of a person's mind when his speech is wild and incoherent and knows no restraint? And then he skips ahead. Even in an advocate like a lawyer, I should be loath to understand such uncontrollable speed in delivery, all in an unruly rush. How could a judge be expected to keep up with it? Quality is superior to quantity when you're talking about time on television or just public communication of any kind. So we're putting Ben Shapiro on notice.
Than they were in, say, the 1950s when there was not comprehensive sex education.
Very smart guy. I am a fan, but it would really help if he would slow down.
Ever been told before that you talk fast?
Oh, all the time. I can't stop it.
Something that a lot of speaking coaches like myself have taken note of is that your audience gets put to sleep when you speak too long in one consistent flat tone. It takes variation to keep people engaged. So you need to spend time going up, you need to spend time going down. You also have to adjust the speed of which you're communicating to emphasize what is important. A person might be sitting on their phone, not paying attention to you anymore, but then you raise your voice and then you slow down, punching those words very intentionally. You're sending a signal, hey, wake up, I'm about to say something important here. And Seneca concludes by saying, you will be doing the right thing, therefore, if you do not go to listen to people who are more concerned about the quantity than the quality of what they have to say. And what you learn on television very fast is you have 15 seconds to make your point. I am not kidding. You could argue that this is why cable news is so stupid, and you would probably be right. But it's also very difficult, and that's why so few people are actually able to rise to that level and do it. You've got to become disciplined with saying a little bit less. And that was really hard for me to wrap up right there. I just wanted to keep going. This one might actually be impossible. Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations, Book 6, you have it in your power to have no such opinion, and thus to keep your soul undisturbed. You don't have to have an opinion about everything. That's right, I said it. If being on TV is the most important thing to you in the world, then you will have to develop an opinion about every single thing that goes on in the world. But if you care a little bit more about truth and discipline, or maybe just staying in your lane on certain topics, you're going to have to find it within yourself to not comment on certain subjects. When something happens in the news, actually just go, no, I don't really need to read for 5 minutes and then spout off about this on national television. The reason this is so hard, particularly for someone who does the kind of work that I do, when I get ready to do News Nation or Fox News or Al Jazeera, they send the topics for that show and the interview only a couple of hours before the show begins. So I'm getting ready for this show. I know that I'm going on at 7 p.m. They let me know at 5 p.m. what the topics are going to be. And there's 4 of them. There's multiple topics that I have to then read up on, develop an opinion, and then send my opinions to them in advance. Sometimes 4 of them. 4 different news stories that I have to read, research, and then develop a couple of talking points about before I go on television. It's incredibly daunting if you don't want to put your foot in your mouth on national television. I said it at the beginning of this video, being a political pundit is a very unstoic way of life. It sort of demands everything of you that would require you to abandon stoicism. But you don't actually have to. It doesn't have to affect you. It doesn't have to change who you are and how you carry yourself through the world. All right, that's it. Hope you found this helpful. You can find out more about what we do on this channel at thisistheway.substack.com. Join our community dedicated to self-improvement through lessons from television and movies. I'm Stephen Kent, and this is The Way.